Before time began, there was nothing but an endless void of swirling chaos. Then, from this primordial soup, two figures emerged, Izanagi, the male earth creator, and Izanami, the female heavenly creator, floating above this maelstrom on the bridge of heaven. They held between them a jeweled spear that dripped with heavenly drops. With this, Izanagi and Izanami danced, stirring the chaotic sea below. And as their dance reached its crescendo, they hurled their spear into the churning waters. Now, as the heavens watched on, the drops from the spear fell like meteor showers across the land below. Wherever the drops landed, mountains rose up, rivers flowed, and forests flourished. Thus were the islands of Japan created. And as the first rays of sunlight hit these newborn lands, life began to stir. And so the earth was made ready for its first inhabitants. Izanagi and Izanami stood hand in hand upon the bridge of heaven, watching over their handiwork. They felt a growing presence within them, the burgeoning of life brought forth by the very essence of their being. They descended from the heavens to the newly formed shores, and here on this blessed ground, they came together as one, embracing in the most primal of ways. And so it was that the gods conceived the first children of the islands. From their union came all the spirits, or kami of nature, the deities of wind and waves, the lords of the trees, and the ruler of the seas. As they grew, each took to the realm that they best embodied. And thus nature flourished as the children of the gods ran, and played amongst the lands they called home. With the islands teeming with life, Izanagi and Izanami knew that their work was done. But they felt a great sadness knowing that they would leave this place and return to the heavens. For what would become of this world if they were not here to watch over it? So once more, the divine couple stood side by side on the shore and reached down to draw life from the waters. And in this way, the earth was given its people. But though the gods had created many things, there was still one realm of nature that had yet to be explored, the heart of the earth itself. It was dangerous, unexplored territory. But both Izanagi and Izanami desired to see it for themselves. Traveling together deep beneath the ground, they wandered through a labyrinth of caverns and tunnels until at last they arrived at the core of the earth. Here they saw molten rivers of fire surging through grand halls. And in the distance, they heard the roar of the great furnace that kept the earth warm and alive. Here in this underworld, they felt a new life stirring within them. Though afraid of what might happen, the desire to bring forth this child was too strong to ignore. And so they embraced, conceiving their final child, the fire god Kagetsuchi. But as Izanami gave birth, the power of the underworld proved too much for her. Her body withered and shriveled as her soul departed, leaving Izanagi alone to weep over his wife's lifeless form. He carried her back to the surface and laid her to rest in a cave. Grief-stricken, he called out to the heavens, begging for his wife to be returned to him. But his pleas went unanswered. So he did the only thing that he could think of. He traveled into the underworld to retrieve her. Descending into the belly of the earth, Izanagi found himself in a dark and oppressive realm. no light shone through the cracks in the cavern walls. All around him, he felt the oppressive heat of the earth's core pressing in on him. And as he walked deeper into the heart of this underworld, the air grew thick and heavy, making each step a monumental task. But Izanagi pressed on, determined to bring his wife back to the land of the living. Deep in the bowels of the earth, he finally came upon the source of the oppressive darkness. And standing before him was his wife, Izanami. But though she was there, she was not there, for in her place was an emaciated husk of a woman, her flesh decayed and rotting away. Her eyes, once so full of life, now glowed with a malevolent red light. And her mouth, once so loving and warm, was twisted into a grotesque snarl. And as Izanagi looked upon this horrible creature, he realized that this was no longer his beloved wife. Instead, he was looking upon Yomi, the spirit of the underworld, who had taken Izanami's form. And as Yomi raised her decaying arms, Izanagi turned and fled, plunging back into the darkness of the underworld. Behind him, he heard Yomi's voice echoing through the tunnels. She vowed revenge against her betrayer, promising to unleash the full force of the underworld against him. Thus, Izanagi fled deeper into the bowels of the earth, stumbling blindly through the darkness, desperately trying to find a way out. But the tunnels seemed to stretch on forever, offering him no hope of escape. Just when he thought all hope was lost, he felt a glimmer of light ahead. With renewed determination, he surged forward, bursting through the final tunnel and tumbling out onto the surface. Gasping for breath, Izanagi looked around him and saw that he was on a familiar shore, the very spot where he and Izanami had first created humanity. But as he turned to go back, he saw that the entrance to the underworld had vanished, leaving no way back to the surface. Thus, Izanagi realized that he had been given a second chance at life. For though he had lost his wife, he could continue on, bringing forth new life into the world. And so he did! Izanagi traveled to a nearby river, one of the first bodies of water he and Izanami had created. And here he washed his body, cleansing himself of the filth and decay of the underworld. And as the pure water of the river touched his skin, it burned away his sins and washed away the grime of his journey. From this cleansing, new life was born. Izanagi stepped out of the river and saw that he was surrounded by 5 new deities. The first was a beautiful woman with flowing hair of sunlight, her very presence radiating warmth and life. This was Amaterasu, the sun goddess. Beside her stood a handsome man with skin as pale as moonlight, his eyes shining with the cold light of the stars. This was Tsukuyomi, the moon god. And lastly, there was a fierce warrior with hair wild as a storm and eyes flashing with lightning. This was Susanoo, the storm god. Together, this trio of siblings became the new rulers of Japan, watching over the land with wisdom, strength, and compassion. Meanwhile, the 3 other deities retreated to the heart of the earth, becoming the kami of the mountains, the seas, and the caves. In this way, the myth of Izanagi and Izanami tells of the creation of Japan and the birth of its divine pantheon. It is a tale of life, death, rebirth, and the eternal cycle of nature. And so ends the story of Izanagi and Izanami, the earth and sky, creators whose love gave birth to the islands of Japan. May their sacrifice and devotion serve as a reminder to always strive for balance between the spiritual and physical realms. If you liked this video, please give it a thumbs up and share it with your friends. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more epic tales. Until next time, may your life be filled with joy and prosperity. Thank you for watching.